Revealed, the Sinister Starship cursed for 100 years. What we discovered will haunt you forever. Erin's heart raced as she served greasy platters at the diner, the fluorescent lights buzzing like angry bees above her. She was just getting through another long shift when her phone buzzed violently in her pocket. It was Noah. His voice was strained, tight with fear, as he hiccuped into the phone. "Mom, their SA light, from the Johnson factory, it looks weird." The Johnson factory. A place that whispered secrets, cloaked in shadow, had become folklore in Brookview, a ghostly silhouette that harbored more than just rusty machinery. Erin brushed off his fears, dismissing this as another childhood prank. But that knot in her stomach twisted tighter as shadows flickered in her thoughts, made sharper by his tiny voice echoing through her mind like an ominous chant. The next day, her errands led her past the forsaken building, its cracked walls singing with graffiti. The images of starships clashed grotesquely with jagged letters. "The curse will return." Panic surged within her. Glancing down, she saw Noah tugging at her sleeve, wide-eyed and pale. "What if Dad is trying to come back?" he squeaked, a glimmer of hope mingling with fear. Terror shot through Erin like ice water, images of their dad dancing with the lights before he disappeared flooding her mind. They were memories sharp enough to draw blood. As the week crawled by, unsettling phone calls invaded her daily life, garbled whispers laced with snippets of her husband's voice pulling her toward the edge of madness. The flickering lights from the factory began to taunt her, casting ghostly shadows that danced at the corners of her vision. The neighbors, once friendly smiles, now wore masks of worry, darting glances that sliced through her with suspicion. Each familiar face morphed into an unsettling stranger, and she felt the walls of her safe haven closing in. Desperation clawed at her throat. She needed to protect her children from whatever darkness threatened their fragile world. With trembling hands, she gripped Lily's and Noah's, her heart pounding like a war drum as they stepped toward the factory's rusted gates. The air felt thick, pressing down like a weight. Ahead lay a clearing swathed in bizarre symbols that told a tale older than the town itself, a whispered warning of a ritual designed to bind something sinister lurking deep within. But even more terrifying was the shadow that emerged from the darkness, a gaunt old man whose presence sucked the air from the room, his breath smelling of rot. "You shouldn't be here," he rasped, warning spilling from cracked lips. Just then, a blinding light ignited within the factory, and for a breathless moment, it illuminated everything: the truth behind their neighbor's peculiar behavior, the fears that had seeped into every crevice of her mind. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Erin's breath hitched as she caught a glimpse of her own reflection in the blinding light, distorted, terrifying. Her trust had been misplaced, the community that held her seemed to twist and turn around her, revealing heart-stopping secrets that threatened everything she held dear. As fear wrapped around her throat, she reached for her children, their small hands trembled against hers. A flash burst forth, engulfing them in an ominous glow. What sinister truth lay in the heart of that factory? What horror awaited? She had to know, but could they survive the unraveling nightmare? The blinding light washed over them, harsh and unyielding. Erin blinked against it, her heart hammering in her chest like a caged animal desperate to escape. She felt her children clutching her, their small bodies pressed against her side, trembling with a fear mirrored in her own gut. The factory's shadows seemed to stretch and twist around them, drawn into the overwhelming brightness, almost as if they were alive. "What are you waiting for?" the old man croaked, his voice shaky but underlined with an urgency that rattled Erin to the core. "You need to leave now." But it was too late. The light surged, pulling them forward as if the very fabric of the universe was bending to the will of whatever lurked within the factory. Erin had barely taken a step when she felt something cold brush against her ankles. Panic seized her, and she jerked her gaze down. Dark tendrils slithered across the ground, creeping ominously closer. "No!" she screamed, recoiling. Her kids cried out, the haunting echoes of their trembling voices swallowed by the deepening silence. The old man's eyes grew wide. "The curse!" he gasped, stepping back. "It feeds on fear. Don't look at it. Stay together. Together." The word echoed in Erin's mind as the room around them began to pulsate. Her body screamed for her to run, but the air hardened, invisible chains binding her to the spot. She tugged on Noah and Lily. "Stay close. Don't let go." Time stretched. Seconds felt like hours. The light flickered, revealing glimpses of grotesque shadows that loomed around them, whispering, screeching echoes of sorrow, anger, despair. Their words twisted into a cacophony of madness that seeped into Erin's bones, making her doubt what was real. "Mom," Noah whimpered, eyes darting. He shrank against her, his fingers nearly digging into her skin. "What are they saying?" Just hold on." Erin's voice quaked, a threadbare promise. Suddenly, the lights surged again, momentarily flaring up before plunging them into a ghastly dimness. In that flickering illumination, Erin saw at the source of the shadows. A swirling mist, darker than the darkest nights, seeped through the walls like fluid darkness. And within its depths, faint outlines flickered like dying stars, shapes both familiar and alien, multiple faces twisted in agony, her breath hitched, suffocating her thoughts. She could feel a presence behind her, sharp and keen like a predator waiting for the opportune moment to strike. "Turn back," the old man rasped. "You can't fight it. You have to leave." But before he finished, a terrible wind erupted, howling through the factory, sending a shiver of dread down Erin's spine. The tendrils pulsated again, closing in, and Erin's heart raced with terror. Every instinct inside her screamed to flee, to wrench her children away from this nightmare. But the old man's warnings echoed, a chilling mantra: "It feeds on fear." "Mom!" Lily's voice teetered on the edge of hysteria, her small face pale and drawn. "What do we do?" In that heartbeat of desperation, Erin realized they had to confront whatever darkness awaited. She steeled herself, her fingers wrapped around Noah's and Lily's hands. "We stand against it. Together, we can't let it win." The courage that swelled in her chest was quickly quashed by the icy fingers of doubt. The shadows writhed, thin wisps of darkness reaching for them, and just as she was about to lead her children toward an escape, the light erupted once more into blinding brilliance. This time, the shadows didn't retreat. Instead, they surged forward, and Erin felt the weight of 1,000 eyes pressing down on her soul, igniting a fear far deeper than she had known. Then, she heard it, a voice echoing from the heart of the mist, smooth and chilling. "You shouldn't have come here." What exactly was waiting for them in that nightmarish swirl? What unspeakable fate loomed ever closer? Erin faced the darkness, ready, or at least, pretending to be. But the answer felt closer than it had ever been. As she braced herself for the unknown, the lights went out, drowning them in an endless void where terror had no bounds. What happened next would change everything, and not just for them. The darkness swallowed them whole. Every breath Erin took felt thick and suffocating, weighing down her chest like a stone. No light. No sound except for the frantic quickening of her heart: thump, thump, thump. She squeezed her children's hands tighter, their warmth grounding her amidst the chilling void. "Mom?" Noah's voice broke through the silence, trembling with uncertainty. "Where are we?" "I don't know, sweetheart," Erin said, forcing calmness into her tone. "But we're together. We can get through this." But even she wasn't convinced. The shadows weren't just around them, they were inside her mind, gnawing at her sanity, twisting her perception of reality. Suddenly, a soft whisper curled around her, curling into her ears like smoke. "Fear feed offer." It was sing-song and disjointed, echoing from every direction. Dread pooled in her stomach, heavy and cold. "Stay close," Erin shouted, trying to drown out the taunting voice. She reached out into the void, seeking anything solid. But her hands grasped at nothing, her vision swallowed by the blackness. "Don't listen. Just hold on to me." Lily's small body shivered beside her. "Mom. I don't like this. I want to go home." Her cry was a plea that twisted in Erin's gut like a knife, each word a stab of guilt. "I know, baby," Erin whispered, her voice barely above a whisper. "I want that too. Just a little longer." Shadows shifted around them, slithering closer, curling into forms that flickered at the edge of her vision. Erin heard choked sobs, cries for help, mingling with the malicious laughter of the unseen. Panic clawed at her throat. They were trapped in a nightmare with no escape. She could feel it, the tendrils of darkness reaching, searching for their fear. Her fear, they were bait. The thought sent a wave of nausea through her. In horror films, this was where the characters turned on each other, succumbed to madness, fought over what little light remained. She refused to let that happen. They needed a plan. "On 3, we run. No looking back. Just forward, okay?" Erin tried to sound brave, but her heart raced at the thought of what lay ahead. She counted silently, allowing a moment of clarity in the chaos. Mom Noah's voice wavered. "What if no?" Erin snapped, cutting him off. "No what ifs. We do this now. You trust me, right?" Without waiting for a reply, she counted slowly, feeling the tension in the air thicken around them. 1, 2, 3. They bolted, plunging into the black, feet pounding against the hard floor. A shriek erupted behind them, sharp and piercing, but Erin pushed forward, dragging her children with her. The whispers turned to howls that echoed in her mind, urging her to give in, to turn around, to succumb, but they couldn't stop. They had to fight. Suddenly, a blinding light erupted, flooding the space around them. Erin focused on the brilliant beam as it cut through the darkness, illuminating faces twisted in torment, staring back at her, their mouths agape in silent screams. Their eyes cried out with sorrow and anguish, a haunting gallery of despair. "Mom! Please!" Lily wailed, stumbling. Erin's heart cracked open at the sound, her resolve faltering. She turned to help Lily, but a gust of freezing wind knocked them down, pulling them toward the glowing mist that had coalesced at the far end of the room. "Fight it!" Erin shouted, straining to keep her grip on her children. "Don't let it take you." But the light flickered, and the monstrous figures loomed closer, whispering secrets of fear and despair, taunting her with their wretched memories. Could they survive this? Erin's heart raced as she felt the first chilling tendril wrap around her ankle, pulling her down into the depths. Her children clung to her, and as the darkness threatened to fully consume them, she screamed, "I won't let it win. I promise." Just then, the mist parted, revealing a path that glimmered with a sickly glow. Somewhere beyond, a pair of eyes watched, waiting, calculating, what awaited them on that flickering path. The shadows tightened their grip, and Erin felt the weight of their presence pressing on her like a heavy shroud. She could either follow the light or be overwhelmed by the darkness. She took a deep breath, making her choice apparent in her mind. But the exit was so close, yet the threat loomed larger. What could truly be found beyond the threshold? What sacrifice was needed to escape the nightmare? The urging scream was louder than ever. Run toward the light or be consumed. The path shimmered like glass, beautiful yet terrifying. Erin pulled her children closer, their warmth against the cold creeping into her bones. The sickly glow illuminated her surroundings, casting grotesque shadows that swirled and twisted, mocking their efforts to escape. "Stay together," she shouted, pushing her fear down like a weight in her chest. Each heartbeat pounded against her ears, matching the dread that whispered in the corners of her mind. The shadows roared, a cacophony of tormented souls, growing louder as they surged forward. Lily's face was pale, tears slick against her cheeks. "What's happening, Mom? I'm scared." "I know, baby. Just hold on. Focus on my voice." The light flickered above them, pulsing like a heartbeat of hope and despair. She had to keep moving. But as they stepped onto the path, the light dimmed, extinguished by the weight of the darkness behind them. With every step, the shadows clawed at her. Erin could feel sharp fingers grazing her back, a bitter chill that coursed through her veins. Noah stumbled behind her, his small legs struggling to keep up. "Mom, I can't run anymore. Just a bit further. We can't stop. Please." She felt the claws close around her ankle, tugging her down. Panic flared in her chest, raw and wild. The world around them was a tempest of laughter and cries, the shadows saturating the air with despair. The path began to shift. Cracks materialized in the ground, and the light fractured into fragments that danced away from them. Erin's breath quickened, and she glanced back, dropping her resolve for just a moment. The faces from before, the ones trapped in their own torment, were closer now, their eyes hollow, pleading. Erin's stomach twisted. They were grabbing at her, reaching out with skeletal hands that seemed to understand her fear better than she did. "Mom, please!" Noah cried, panic flooding his voice. He pulled at her arm just as she turned back, struggling to keep the darkness at bay. "Help me. Don't let go." She forced her grip tighter, pulling them both forward against the tide of shadows, but the path shifted again. More cracks appeared, and there was no escaping the darkness clawing at her heart. Terror surged like ice in her veins. "We're going to make it." She lied, the words bitter on her tongue as the air thinned around them. The whispers returned, louder now, a distorted chorus that echoed within the very fabric of her soul. "Fear feed offer," they laughed, taunting, as Erin faltered, a bead of sweat trickling down her back. And then she saw it, a glimmer beyond the darkness, like a star in a bleak night. It was not just a light, it was a gate bathed in shimmering brilliance, pulsating like a living thing. Erin's heart leaped, her resolve sparking back to life. "This way!" She yelled, and she lunged toward the glow. But the shadows howled in anguish and rage. They surged forward, a tidal wave of darkness, striking at her with shrieks and pulling her down. Erin felt her feet leave the ground as the weight of them pressed against her, smothering, suffocating. "Mom! No!" Lily screamed, her voice piercing through the storm of chaos. With a primal roar, Erin fought against the tide. She was not just fighting for herself, but for her children. In one last desperate act, she squeezed their hands tightly, digging her nails into the flesh of their palms, igniting a flicker of hope. "Hold on to me." She pushed against the darkness, every ounce of strength surging through her. "Not today." With that declaration, she lunged toward the light. But every step fought against her, shadows laughing, pulling her back, desperate to keep them within the night. The light flickered dangerously, barely holding its form as she hurled her body forward, praying it would embrace them. There was a moment of quiet, an eerie calm, and then the world exploded with blinding brilliance. And just like that, she was surrounded by blinding light, warmth flooding her senses, but she felt an ominous presence lurking just beyond the radiant veil. Would they be free, or was this just another layer of the suffocating darkness, waiting, watching? Still, a soft voice whispered in her mind, "You've made it for now." What awaited them in this new realm? And what price would they pay to escape the shadows once and for all? The brilliant light enveloped them like a warm embrace, yet Erin felt something shift within the radiance. It wasn't just a sanctuary, it carried a heaviness, an unsettling weight of secrets lurking in its brilliance. She stood on the threshold, peering into the shimmering space around them, uncertain if it was salvation or a new prison. "Are we safe, Mom?" Noah's small voice trembled against the stillness. Erin blinked, fighting off the blinding glare. I think so," she whispered, but doubt crept into her voice. The light pulsed, flickering as if responding to her uncertainty. Before she could take a step forward, shadows began to seep through the edges of the brilliance. Tendrils stretched out, curling like fire reaching for oxygen. They probed and poked, searching for a weakness, a way to breach their fragile safety. "No!" Erin shouted, positioning her body in front of her children. "Stay behind me." The glowing barrier quivered, enveloping them tighter, but the creeping darkness snarled, thrumming with hunger. The whispers returned, seductive and terrible, coaxing her with promises of peace. "Join us, it's safe forever." With a fierce determination, Erin shook her head, pushing back the overwhelming urge to surrender. "We won't!" she shouted into the abyss of murmurs. "I will protect my children." And there it was, a crack in the tapestry of light. A dark silhouette materialized from the shadow, a figure wrapped in agony and despair, its features obscured but unmistakably human. It stepped into the flickering luminosity, breathing life into the torment that had chased them. "Please, help us," Erin implored, desperation clawing at her throat. The figure seemed to pause, wretched eyes locking onto her. The moment felt suspended, heavy with uncertainty. "Help?" it rasped, a voice that dripped sorrow, blending seamlessly with the whispers. "Or maybe an exchange?" "No!" Erin shouted, recoiling instinctively. "We won't give you anything." Lily and Noah pressed closer to Erin, their small bodies trembling. She could feel their heartbeats syncing with her own, amplifying every ounce of dread within her. "Then it must be your souls I seek," the figure replied, its voice fading into echoes that twisted like smoke. "You are already within my domain." Suddenly, the shining light pulsated violently, and Erin felt her feet leaving the ground. It throbbed, expanding and contracting, a wild heartbeat of its own. The shadows grew bolder, entwining her ankles, wrapping around them like vines. "No! No! Please!" she screamed, yanking against the encroaching darkness. But the barrier began to crack and splinter, bits of dazzling light scattering like stars. The harbinger of shadows stepped closer, revealing itself a grotesque version of a human, mouth stretching too wide, teeth razor-sharp. "All it takes is a promise, a willingness to give of yourselves." Erin's blood ran cold. She was teetering on the edge of a cliff, facing an abyss dark enough to swallow her whole. "You can't have us!" she screamed, summoning every ounce of bravery left in her being. "Then face your choice," it hissed with a grin that promised endless nightmares. With the walls closing in, Erin's instinct surged, a bond of ferocity igniting inside her. "We choose life," she declared, the words a shield against the looming figure. A sudden blast of warmth shot through the air, rebuffing the shadows, and the light around them surged, filling the space with radiance. The once subtle whispers intensified, a chaotic choir clamoring for her attention. The wishes, the truths we offer. What were they really asking for? What would the final reckoning demand? Before she could center herself in the chaos, something broke deep inside the luminance, and a rift opened in the sky-like ceiling overhead. A freezing draft burst forth, sucking her gaze upward. "What is that?" Noah squeaked, fear lacing his voice. Erin could only point, her heart hammering wildly. The black void looming above was unlike anything she'd ever seen. Larger than the shadows that had pursued them, it felt alive, hanging ominously. A silhouette emerged. Vast and dreadful, forming against the inky blackness. What will occur next is beyond your reckoning. What they faced, trapped between blinding light and creeping shadow, was only the beginning of a greater horror waiting to be unveiled. What sacrifice awaited them when they crossed that threshold? And would their souls ever truly be free? The rift widened and a cold wave rushed through, chilling Erin to her core. The once comforting light flickered again, struggling against the darkness above. It felt as though time slowed, every heartbeat amplifying the tension hanging in the air. The vast form overhead twisted, a shape both magnificent and grotesque, like a celestial beast birthed from nightmares. "Mom, what is happening?" Lily's whisper cut through the cold terror, each word trembling as if it could attract the attention of the looming horror. "I don't know." Erin gasped, her pulse racing as dread coiled tighter in her stomach. From the writhing blackness above, a voice deep and resonant echoed around them, "You are not yet ready. You tread upon the edge of something far greater than you comprehend." The shadows wisped like fingers toward the shining barrier, as if trying to pull it apart and expose them to whatever lay beneath. "Erin!" A voice called from the depths of the darkness, sharp and familiar. Panic jerked her gaze sideways, and she saw another figure forming, this one smaller but undeniably human. It was her sister, Sarah, lost to the world years earlier. "Sarah?" Erin's breath hitched, tears welling in her eyes. The fanged grin of the previous figure faded slightly, allowing room for curiosity. "Join us, Erin. Come to me." Sarah's voice was hauntingly sweet, promising warmth in shadows. The allure pulled at Erin's heart but filled her with an ice-cold fear. It couldn't be her sister. Not like this. "No. You're not real." Erin screamed, shaking her head as if to clear the illusion weighing heavy on her limbs. "Don't let the light betray you." Sarah beckoned, her form flickering like a flame in the wind. "What do you have to lose? Let go of the chain that binds you to this world." Lily and Noah clung tightly to Erin, their faces pale with fear. The confusion must have shown in Erin's eyes, for the whispers changed, becoming frantic, 1,000 voices rising in a cacophony around her. Each sound asked for something different, promises of safety, a mother's love, a sister's bond, a family restored. "We have to stay together." Erin found herself shouting against the clamor. She couldn't let their innocence be sacrificed to that twisted hunger. "No. Trust us, we can keep you safe." The whispers sang, seductive and terrible, wrapping around her heart like chains. The ground trembled as if it, too, were caught in a desperate struggle. Erin felt the tension peak and knew they were teetering on a precipice. If they couldn't choose light or dark, there might be a third way, an unknown path that could either save them or shatter them. A sharp tug jolted her back as a shadowy hand reached for Noah, pulling him inch by inch toward the abyss. "No!" She screamed, lunging forward, but the light responded, flaring with a brightness that momentarily pushed back the darkness. Noah's terrified face reflected the fear she felt in that instant. "All of you shall be mine." The deep voice roared above, and Erin felt the air hum with terror. In an instant, the rift shifted, altering its form and becoming a swirling vortex, inviting yet terrifying. It seemed like a doorway into emptiness. What lies beyond that horizon? Erin questioned silently, knowing that they could be lost forever if they took a single step forward. "Mom! What do we do?" Noah urged, his grip tightening. She turned to her children, determination hardening her resolve. "We fight," Erin declared. "We fight for each other. No matter what, we stay together." Before she could fully absorb their situation, the charm of a shared past and the haunting specter of false hope drew nearer. The darkness roared, flaring back at them with unrelenting hunger. Was it a risk she could take, crossing into an unknown void, or was it a trap that would consume them all? As the swirling mass beckoned with promises of lost souls and shattered hopes, Erin felt the momentary whisper of liberation. But it was fleeting. In that brief pause, she could feel everything around her shifting, as if the very fabric of reality were about to unravel, desperation mixed with reluctance, leaving no time to linger. "Now," she shouted, and whether it was darkness or light that awaited them, she had made her choice. But would it save them or destroy them completely? The swirling vortex surged, its edges flickering in shades of deep purple and icy blue. Erin squeezed her eyes shut, feeling everything whirl around her. The world bent and twisted, and she felt herself teetering on the brink of oblivion. "Hold on!" she yelled, gripping Lily and Noah tighter. The chaos swelled, enveloping them in a violent embrace. No light. No sound except a deafening roar in her ears, then, silence. They were abruptly expelled from the vortex, landing hard on cold, dark ground. Erin opened her eyes slowly, her heart pounding like a war drum in her chest. They were in a cavern, dimly lit by an ethereal glow emanating from the walls, slick and shimmering like liquid glass. It felt alive, pulsating with an energy that made her skin crawl. "Where are we?" Lily's voice sounded small, trembling with fear as she looked around. Erin pushed herself up, glancing back at the void they'd just escaped. It loomed ominously, its edges razor-sharp and vibrating with restless energy. "I don't know. But we have to stick together." Noah squinted at the surroundings, shadows danced ominously as if mocking their dread. Each corner of the cavern felt suffocating, as if they were intruders in a place best left undisturbed. "Mom, what if it follows us?" "It won't," she lied, even as dread seeped into her thoughts. Everything in her screamed they couldn't rest. "Not here, not ever." In the distance, a low hum resonated, rhythmic and unsettling. It echoed like an ancient heartbeat, growing louder with each passing second. The children flinched, instinctively stepping closer to Erin. The walls began to pulse, and the glow intensified, revealing intricate patterns that twisted and turned with a life of their own. "What's happening?" Noah whispered, eyes wide, his voice a choked gasp. Just stay quiet," Erin instructed, adrenaline thickening in her veins. She stepped forward cautiously, compelled to investigate the eerie beauty and danger coiling in its light. As they explored, the cavern opened wider, leading them into a vast chamber where towering formations glinted under that strange luminescence. On one side stood a large object, half buried in shimmering rubble. It resembled a vessel, like an ancient ship, its surface etched with unfathomable designs. Erin felt an inexplicable pull towards it, as if it were calling her name. "The Starship," she breathed, recognizing it from a faded memory, an old book she had glanced at once in a forgotten library. "Cursed," they had said. It was doomed to linger in that place forever, filled with grief and shadows. "Mom, please don't get too close." Lily's voice trembled as Erin took a step forward, a wary hand outstretched toward the ship, but then the hum transformed into a cacophony of distant screams, echoing through the chamber, overwhelming the senses. Erin jerked back, heart racing, as faces flickered in and out of the shimmering walls, faint, hopeless forms trapped in some eternal struggle. "They're reaching out." Noah's voice cracked, panic spilling into every word. "Stay back," Erin commanded, her heart pounding. "We can't let it take us too." Yet just as she turned to grab her children, the ship's surface rippled, a void opening before them, darkness thrumming with hunger. "Mom, what if we can help them?" Lily asked, her voice small yet full of a brave longing that twisted Erin's heart. "No," Erin shouted, but a part of her wondered. What if they could? What if this was a chance to save more than themselves? The ship convulsed, drawing in tumultuous breaths like a living creature, inviting them to decide, courageous souls or lost puppets. And in that moment, the choice loomed as heavy as the night itself. "What do we do?" she whispered, the weight of the darkness pulling them closer with every breath. As the cacophony swelled, shadows reached out again, closer, desperate. Erin's heart lurched. They were at a crossroad, and the path ahead blurred into uncertainty. Would they face the cries of the lost or flee into the endless night that had chased them here? In a heartbeat, the answer would be revealed, but was she willing to pay the price? The shadows twisted and surged around them, scraping against the walls of the cavern as if hungry for flesh. Erin's breath quickened, panic rising like bile in her throat. She felt the pulsing energy of the ship, its ominous whisper drowning out the screams. It clawed at her mind, pulling her thoughts towards that dark void. "Mom!" Noah's grip on her tightened, terror flickering in his wide eyes. "We have to go. This isn't right." "Noah," just she started but stopped, the scream of lost souls wrapping around her like a shroud. It was like they were drowning in despair, suffocating under its weight. Each tortured cry echoed in the vast chamber, and with every note, Erin's resolve began to crumble. The ship's glow brightened, bathing them in a sinister light. The designs on its hull twisted and shimmered, more pronounced now, revealing more than just shapes. Dark figures loomed within, their faces desperate, mouths moving in silent pleas. Erin stumbled back, feeling the chill of death sweep over her. These were not just echoes of the lost, they were warnings. Lily's fingers brushed against her arm. "Mom, I'm scared." Her voice trembled, cracking under the weight of terror. "Stay close," Erin whispered, glancing around for an escape route. The walls seemed to pulse in rhythm with the hum, a heartbeat that felt familiar. Behind them, the dark void swirled, restless and alive, beckoning them back as though sensing their fear. Erin turned, feeling the heat of panic flush through her. Should they run? Would running only bring them deeper into the darkness? The walls seemed to tighten around them, pushing them back toward the ship. Suddenly, the low hum escalated, morphing into agonizing wails that pierced the air, an invitation and a warning all at once. The ship shuddered as if sensing the weight of their indecision. "No!" Erin shrieked, a burst fueled by raw urgency. "We can't let them in. They want us." But the voices clawed at her, compelling and sweet. The urge to help morphed into something darker, suggesting that they could be more than this fleeting moment of pain. "They're lost." Mom Lily's breath was shaky, like a frail leaf caught in a storm. "What if they didn't have to be?" "No. We can't." Erin didn't recognize her own voice, it was frayed and raw. "They'll take us. We must leave." Yet even as she screamed, the ship glowed brighter, vibrant colors intertwining like a vying tapestry. The faces inside shifted, morphing through agony and hope, searching for a savior. Was that her name they called from the depths? Mom? Erin felt the icy tendrils of despair wrapping tighter around her. She hesitated just as the shadows surged forward, reaching, grasping. And then, from its shimmering surface, a tendril shot out, slick and glossy, wrapping around Erin's wrist. She gasped, feeling a surge of electricity crackle through her. The tightness of it was suffocating, mixing pain with desire. "Mom!" Noah screamed again, yanking at her sleeve as he and Lily pulled back from the tethering force that threatened to pull her in. "Fight it. Please." The ship roared, and Erin gritted her teeth, battling against the overwhelming energy that felt like a sin against her very soul. Faces writhed before her, their eyes pleading for release while the shadows tightened their grip, whispering sweetly of sacrifice and salvation. In the frantic tumult, she saw their futures. The children would be alone, lost in this cavern of despair if she succumbed. She couldn't face that. "No, no." She gasped, tearing her eyes from the ship's glowing embrace. With all her strength, she yanked her wrist free, stumbling back into the arms of her children, but the ship's cries transformed into rage, deafening and desperate. Panic surged as the ground beneath their feet began to quiver. "Run!" Erin commanded, and they raced away from that glowing horror, the sounds of anguish swelling behind them, yet the hum followed, a relentless echo trailing their every step, hungry and relentless. In the darkness, shadows darted like phantoms, and the walls loomed high, closing in like a predator. Suddenly, a deep laughter roared, vibrating through the air, chilling Erin to her very core. "You think you can resist?" It taunted, voice hollow and echoing. "Your choice is already made." As they turned, the dark void yawned wide, a gaping maw ready to consume them whole, and realization hit her like a cold slap. What they had just escaped was only a beginning. "What have we unleashed?" Erin gasped, eyes darting desperately against the encroaching darkness. And in that moment, she felt their fates intertwine with the angry shadows that lingered. Would escape ever be possible? Or would they fall into the same fate as those pinned within? The shadows drew nearer, and Erin knew the true horror was just beginning. The darkness swallowed them whole, the shadows clawing at their heels, urging them back toward the ship and its beckoning light. Erin's heart hammered in her chest, each beat matching the frantic rhythm of their escape. She could feel the cold breath of the void on her neck, whispering terrible secrets that threatened to consume her. "Turn left," Noah shouted, yanking her arm. The sudden movement jolted her out of her paralysis. They veered into a narrow passage, the walls damp and echoing their hurried breaths. The shadows recoiled slightly, as though the constricted space offered a brief sanctuary. "Keep moving," Erin commanded, glancing back. The ship's glow was now a pulsing red, almost as if it was angry at their defiance. The walls shimmered around it, pulsating in rhythm with the cries emanating from within. It sounded almost alive. Lily stumbled, her knees buckling as they ran. "Mom, I can't," she wheezed, terror-stricken and panting. Erin quickly knelt, pulling Lily against her. "You can. We have to stick together." With her eyes darting about, she searched for an exit. But all she saw were twisted shadows, flickering shapes that danced just beyond her vision. Suddenly, the laughter returned, a chilling sound that resonated through the cavern. "You think you can escape?" The voice echoed, mocking, full of malice. "You're already ours." "Shut up," Erin shouted back, the tremor in her voice betraying her fear. They pressed forward, squeezing through the narrow corridor. "Noah, go ahead. Look for a way out," she urged. She heard his low whimper but didn't stop. Every second counted. As they rounded another corner, the air thickened, laden with despair. The walls themselves seemed to moan, an agonized sound that drove needles through her mind. She glanced at Noah, his face was pale, a ghost frozen in fear. "Mom!" he called, almost choking on the word. "It's following us." She saw it then, a shadow separating from the others. A mass that formed a figure, emerging from the dark recesses. "Run!" she screamed, shoving Noah and Lily forward as she felt the tendrils reaching for her again, hungry with intent. They charged deeper into the labyrinth, the path narrowing until it felt like the very walls could close in on them at any moment. With every turn, disorientation bubbled within Erin, the dark shifting around her like some surreal nightmare. "What is happening to us?" Lily sobbed, her voice high-pitched and strained. Erin had no answer. Panic clawed at her throat as she felt the overwhelming presence of something sinister edging closer. Indeed, it felt less than an entity and more like an insatiable hunger, feasting on their fear. Suddenly, a brighter light pierced the gloom ahead. "Look!" Noah yelled, pointing. "An exit." They stumbled forward, breathless and desperate. But as they reached that faint light, a new realization hit Erin like a tidal wave. It was not a way out, but another opening into an area even darker. A vast chamber awaited them, consuming the last remnants of light, lined with symbols that glowed eerily against the backdrop. "No, no, no!" Erin gasped, inching back. "Not there." But the shadows behind them lunged, forcing them into the looming darkness. The air felt thick, as if filled with hidden whispers, drawing them closer. The terrible figure appeared more defined, its malevolence radiating an aura that sent chills racing down Erin's spine. Just as they crossed the threshold into that ominous chamber, the ship's howling seemed to crescendo in triumph, deafening in its victory over their souls. Erin pressed her children against her, shielding them with her arms, her heart racing as panic clawed at her sanity. Then came a whisper, brittle and splintering, curling around her thoughts. "Join us. Be part of the family." "No!" Erin screamed, a raw sound that erupted from her very core. "We are not yours." But as she declared their defiance, thunder rumbled through the cavern, reverberating like a heartbeat quickening towards a catastrophic climax. And with that, the ground beneath them trembled, a final quake that felt like a prelude to some terrible revelation. What comes next? She thought desperately, as shadows encircled them, tightening their grip. Their time was running out, and something primal urged her to flee, to abandon the very idea of facing what lay ahead, but would it be enough? The chill of realization swept across her back as the chamber loomed larger, the whispers growing into a cacophony that threatened to drown her spirit. Despair loomed like a specter. What awaited them in the depths of darkness? The answer echoed, chilling her to her bones. Would they sacrifice everything? Or could a single flicker of light save them from eternal damnation? Erin felt the air thicken around them as shadows curled closer, tightening their grip like a vice on her heart. "We'll never be part of your twisted game," she screamed, voice trembling yet defiant. Her children huddled behind her, hands gripped in fear, error etched on their small faces. The darkness seemed to respond, whispering promises and taunting threats. The chamber seemed to pulse as if it were alive, vibrating with emotions. Erin could almost taste fear, despair, longing. She was drowning under the weight of it. But they had come too far to turn back. "We fight together," she rallied, gripping Noah and Lily tighter, pulling them in a protective embrace. She had to believe they could withstand the darkness. "Fight," Noah echoed, fear battling with hurried determination. Lily nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks, her small frame shaking but holding steady under her mother's fierce strength. And then it happened. Darkness seemed to explode in a wave of anguish, howling cries filling their ears as if mourning all that was lost, all that could never be regained. The entity coalesced in front of them, a twisted visage of torment that loomed larger than life. "You cannot escape your fates," it roared, voice a harsh wind that pushed against them. Erin raised her chin, meeting the gaze of their tormentor. "We choose our fates," she shouted, voice strong. "You cannot take our will." In her heart, a flicker of light ignited, a reminder of all the love she had for her children. It was more than just a fight for survival, this was a battle of wills, a refusal to surrender written deep in her soul. She squeezed her children's hands like a lifeline, grounding herself in the reality that life and love would always shine brighter than the shadows. The shadows hissed, recoiling, the darkness didn't appreciate this challenge. The cacophony of whispers swelled louder, a desperate race against time, but Erin pressed forward, pulling her children with her. "Stand firm," she commanded. They stepped carefully, united against the darkness that clawed at their heels, hissing words meant to confuse and terrify. "You're alone, it's easier to surrender, but together felt stronger." With each step forward, they stretched toward the center of the chamber, the horrific presence dwindling as their resolve grew. The shimmering walls around them flickered and dimmed. "Your pain fuels this place," the shadows growled, their grip lessening, weakness radiating from the once imposing presence. "Not anymore," Erin declared, focus tightening as they reached the center, a pulsating orb of oppressive energy that beat like a heart. Here, they would confront the depths of their fears. "We are here, together. We will not bow to despair." At that moment, something shifted. The chamber pulsed in response to their unity, the shadows around them merging and forming a single massive entity. Erin gasped as the darkness twisted into shapes of despair, the lost souls of those trapped before them, trapped in their own cycles of hopelessness. "Help us!" they screamed, their voices woven into a chilling symphony of misery. Erin felt the weight of their anguish, the heartbeat of eternity echoing against her own. "Lily, Noah, listen to me," Erin urged, eyes wide with fierce determination. "Together, we can break this curse. Imagine our love, the warmth of home, our laughter. We can free them." And with one collective breath, they reached deep within their hearts, memories flooding through them like an unstoppable wave, their happy moments filled with joy, love, and life. Noah closed his eyes tightly and whispered, "We love you," and Lily echoed, "We're not afraid." The orb of energy exploded into a blinding light, bathing the chamber in radiant warmth as it surged forward. The figures of lost souls contorted and shrieked in agony before shrinking, the shadows receding back as the light exploded outward, the oppressive air fractured. Erin shielded her children, squeezing their small forms against her, as surrounding shadows dissolved, swallowed by the brightness rising within them. With every memory shared, every moment of love brought back to life, the darkness couldn't withstand the force. The walls shimmered like glass before shattering altogether, exploding outwards in a radiant surge. Erin and her children clung to one another, whispering words of safety as they were engulfed in brilliance that transformed the shadows into dust. As reality settled around them, they found themselves sprawled on familiar ground, the air soft with the scent of spring flowers and the clear laughter of children playing nearby. The sun bathed Brookview in gold, and the Johnson factory stood in peaceful silence, no longer an ominous shadow but a weathered relic of the past, free of darkness. Lily and Noah stared with wonder, breathing in the fresh air after feeling imprisoned for so long. "Did we do it, Mom?" Noah's small voice trembled with awe. Erin looked at her children, then back towards the factory, a triumphant grin spreading across her face. "Yes, we did," she breathed, tears of relief streaming down her cheeks. "We did it together." A sense of peace enveloped them, and now, hand in hand, they stepped forward, ready to face whatever came next. The curse was broken, but the love they shared became their shield, forever binding them against the world's darkness, and as they walked away from that forsaken place, Erin felt lighter than she had in years. It was the dawn of a new beginning, a life reclaimed. As their silhouettes disappeared into the warm embrace of sunlight, the camera slowly pulled back to reveal Brookview in its splendor, a community forever changed. But it wasn't just her family that escaped, all the past victims of the curse had been released too. Freedom flooded the air in every part of the town, echoing with laughter and rebirth. The light had won for now. Thank you for joining Erin and her family on this harrowing journey. If you enjoyed this story, you need to subscribe now. Don't wait another second. Smash that like button to feed the algorithm and show your love. Flood the comments with your reactions and theories. I can't wait to hear from all of you. And remember, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. It's time to support our storytelling family. Let us keep spreading the light together.